Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Allegations of police misconduct will soon be up for review by community volunteers. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Today, the San Diego City Council appointed those volunteers. It comes after a recent KPBS investigation found community oversight of SDPD has come to a halt in recent months. KPBS investigative reporter Scott Rodd has this story.
Thank you very much, Council.
Dozens of nominees from the community appeared before city council members. Each made their case as to why they're qualified to oversee San Diego police. The council chose 25 of them to serve on the Commission on Police Practices.
I understand our communities and the current distrust in our law enforcement agencies.
Ramon Montano Marquez is among the volunteers selected. He told KPBS he wants to see more transparency when it comes to the handling of police misconduct allegations.
For me, accountability means that our communities have a voice, that there isn't no backdoor meetings when we have to conduct certain investigations.
The commission was created after voters overwhelmingly passed Measure B in November 2020. It will have the power to independently investigate allegations of police misconduct and subpoena witnesses. But it's taken 2.5 years for council members to create a framework for the commission and appoint commissioners. A KPBS investigation found the backlog of unreviewed police misconduct cases has piled up during that time. Several public commenters criticized the council for taking too much time to honor the will of voters.
I am here to express some disappointment in the lack of action toward implementing Measure B, and it seems like so much time.
Ma'am, this is a reminder, the public comments right now are meant to be directly related to the nominees.
Okay.
The new commissioners will need to complete extensive training before they can begin reviewing cases. The commission will also need to hire full-time staff members before independent investigations of SDPD can get started. Scott Rodd, KPBS News.
MTS passengers are dealing with more service disruptions today as negotiations between contractors and bus operators continue. Bus operators say the biggest issue they're fighting for comes down to meal breaks and having access to restrooms. Commuters say the disruptions are forcing them to make adjustments to their daily lives, including finding other ways to get their kids to school.
Get up an hour earlier and just plan on walking them instead of having to wait for this.
And according to MTS, as of today, East County bus service is operating at about 90% and South Bay service is at about 20%. A representative for TransDev says they've made good faith concessions and remain open to continue talks with operators. The Hollywood writers' strike entered its 4th week today. Picket lines went up outside of all of the major studios in the Los Angeles area. There are no indications of movement toward a solution. In a message to its members last week, the WGA announced it's planning a multi-union rally in downtown LA this Friday. Some of the unions taking part include Teamsters, SEIU, and UTLA. The clock is ticking as President Joe Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy meet to negotiate raising the nation's debt ceiling. Experts say the U.S. defaulting on its debt would have devastating impacts on the economy at home and around the world. Mike Valerio has the latest.
I'm glad the speaker's here today. President Joe Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy meet Monday to discuss raising the debt ceiling and avoid the country's first ever default.
We still have some disagreements, but I think we may be able to get where we have to go.
We both agree that we need to change the trajectory, that our debt is too large, and I think at the end of the day we could find common ground.
The stakes are high, and the countdown is on.
We expect to be unable to pay all of our bills in early June and possibly as soon as June 1st.
House Republicans want to see deep spending cuts in the federal budget in exchange for their support.
Both sides are working in good faith, but we've got tough issues. We've got tough issues we have to deal with, and it's a difficult proposition.
A White House team remained tight-lipped as they entered the Capitol Monday. The president has said much of what Republicans are proposing is, quote, unacceptable, including changes to the work requirements for food stamps. If both sides fail to reach a deal, millions of people could see retirement and veterans benefits put on hold. A default would also likely trigger a recession and massive layoffs.
We will have an economic and financial catastrophe.
I'm Mike Valerio reporting.
Some Americans in military cities like ours are getting a little nervous about this latest round of debt ceiling tasks. If a compromise is not found and the U.S. defaults, the government won't be able to pay the salaries of federal workers. And that could hit cities with large military bases particularly hard. A drop in spending or delayed payments could significantly affect the local economy. But it's unclear what payments the Treasury Department will prioritize. A landmark deal has been reached to stave off a water shortage crisis on the Colorado River. The Colorado River system provides water to 40 million people in California, Arizona, and Nevada. A deal was struck today to cut millions of gallons of water usage over the next 4 years. The cuts represent about 10% of the three states' river allocation and would be split among farmers, tribes, and cities. The plan still needs to be finalized after a federal environmental review. The State Coastal Commission is taking on outdoor dining, and this affects beach area businesses that extended dining areas into the parking lots during COVID. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado has more.
Visiting Mission Beach in San Diego is popular among tourists, and locals have fond memories of this coastal gem. Visiting is a tradition in the Smith family, one that's being passed down to a new generation this year.
The last 35 years I've been coming. My dad brings me down. We come down about 3-4 times a year just to bring the kids, the grandkids and stuff down here, enjoy the beach and enjoy Kojak's. Kojak's is by far the favorite spot to come.
Dustin Smith says this is a relaxing and happy place, with one exception: trying to find parking.
Really crazy, especially when you start to get into the summer months. We're coming into the summer months, all the kids are getting out of school, everybody's graduating, and it just gets ridiculous out here.
At the height of the pandemic, businesses were allowed to extend dining spaces into street parking to adhere to public health emergency restrictions. The city created a policy to allow this.
I've been here almost 40 years. I got gray hair now.
Mike Sultan owns and operates Kojak's, a San Diego institution that's just steps from the sand.
Well, never in my life we experienced something like COVID. It was such a tough 2 years, you know.
He says while he didn't expand himself, it was necessary for many to get by.
I'm glad they did it because that kind of helped the situation during COVID. But right now, especially in Mission Beach, that area, we need parking spots.
But under the state's Coastal Commission rules, these spaces violate access, traffic, and fire safety regulations. They told the city parking within a quarter mile from the beach needed to be replaced. Public comment came down on both sides. Business owners saying it improved businesses and community involvement, and people who live near the beach saying it was meant to be temporary and are tired of street closures. Ultimately, the council voted unanimously to compromise. They would accept the Coastal Commission's rules with some modifications, including businesses that want to keep the spaces must have a permit and replace the access or parking they use up to a nearby location and pay for the costs.
But it's time to kind of move on and let people come back and enjoy their parking.
Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
The San Diego wine industry grew last year with an 11% increase in sales, marking an all-time high for the industry. KPBS North County reporter Alexander Nguyen takes a look at the economic impact on the region.
Last year, San Diego County wineries had more than $49 million in gross sales, and the number of wineries grew to 166. That, according to the recent economic impact report released by the San Diego County Vintners Association.
That's the highest ever, $49 million, almost $50 million just in San Diego County.
Mike Weber is the vice president of the Vintners Association and general manager of Avila Winery. He says COVID did a number on the industry, but those pandemic changes are also also what's helping the industry grow right now.
We all remember that we had to go outside. Well, it's really been rather effective. The wine business in general is an event type of business. You come here to drink and enjoy it, and having more room outside in a view like this, it really is enthralling for people.
It's kind of a sudden jolt to our business.
Edward Embley is the owner of Hungry Hog Winery. When the pandemic hit, the winery had only been in operation for 6 years. He says the outdoor dining guidelines helped to expand his business.
With that, really, we ended up hiring more employees. And those changes made a big change in our business. And it actually was a positive change. And then we have carried over a lot of those same procedures to today.
According to the report, nearly half of the wineries in the area have rebounded to pre-pandemic level, and the industry has grown 6%, adding more than 700 jobs to the area. But Weber says the industry still faces some challenges in the recovery process. Wildfire insurance has grown 54%, for example, and of course, inflation.
Inflation has definitely hurt the wine biz in a very prominent way. But superseded that, we've hired more people as collectively here in San Diego. It's just up, 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 and a very good trend. With nearly 170 wineries in the county, almost doubling that of Riverside County, the wine industry is one of the top 10 agricultural industries in San Diego. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
And Orfila Vineyard and Winery is a corporate partner of KPBS. The unofficial start of the summer is just 1 week away, and AAA released its travel forecast, saying this Memorial Day will be one for the record books. Cole Higgins has a look at what you can expect and how to avoid all of the headaches.
Get ready for a record-breaking Memorial Day. According to AAA, 42.3 million Americans are expected to travel 50 miles or more from home over the holiday weekend.
The desire to travel is high. It's back to what it was pre-pandemic.
Compared to 2022, that's a 7% increase, or nearly 3 million more people. And AAA says it's a glimpse of what's ahead this summer travel season, saying roads and airports will be busier than before the pandemic.
More people feel comfortable flying now. More people are booking trips ahead of time. And what that shows is that there's a demand for flights despite inflation.
According to AAA, this Memorial Day weekend, we could see the busiest airports since 2005. AAA recommends booking the first flight in the morning since it has fewer disruptions than later flights. Don't check in bags and be flexible.
Have those plan Bs and plan Cs in effect, knowing that potentially you could run into delays or cancellations at the airport.
AAA says most travelers are expected to drive to their destination, while also noting car travel is still expected to be down from pre-pandemic levels by 500,000 travelers. Prices at the pump are likely fueling the increased demand for road trips. AAA says the national average for a gallon of gas is below $4, which is lower than it was last summer. AAA recommends avoiding the roads Friday afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. and Monday between noon and 3 p.m.
So if you can extend that weekend trip to Tuesday, perhaps, or maybe work remotely on Tuesday, come back Wednesday, play around with your schedule a little bit to avoid those big delays.
For Consumer Watch, I'm Cole Higgins.
Driving is part of many of our daily lives here in California, so how did we get so car dependent? That's one of the questions that we explore in a brand new podcast series produced by KPBS, and it's called Freeway Exit. It's created and hosted by KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen. The 6-episode series dives into the consequences of our freeway system, and that includes the climate impacts, the dividing of the communities, and everyday public safety issues. And the first 3 episodes are available right now, and a brand new episode will be out tomorrow. You can find Freeway Exit wherever you listen to your podcasts. One San Diego drug and alcohol recovery program is using skateboarding to help people overcome addiction and improve their mental health. KPBS health reporter Matt Hoffman went to see how it works.
Brandon Turner is a professional skateboarder. Called a skating prodigy, he's been sponsored since he was 13, but he's also struggled with substance abuse.
He just started from drinking at a young age and hanging out with older people, just trying to grow up too fast.
After getting his addiction under control, he founded Westside Recovery last year. It's a drug and alcohol treatment center that uses skateboarding as one tool to help people overcome addiction. Federal data estimates some 46 million Americans 12 and older have a substance abuse disorder, and only a fraction, around 6%, receive some type of treatment for it in 2021.
When I was going through my journey and anybody would mention the word rehab, it always just sounded like a confinement to me. So I wanted to help remove the stigma with not only just rehab, but mental health and substance abuse as a whole, that getting help is not weakness and it doesn't mean you have a problem and you're bad.
Turner says skateboarding is a healthy release that also has valuable lessons.
Skateboarding teaches you failure on a daily basis. You're going to be failing every single day, and it's not what you do when you fall, because you're going to fall. It's what you do when you pick yourself back up.
Brandon Lefevre grew up with Turner and used to skate nearly every day, but he says drinking pulled him away from his passion.
The way I am is kind of sucks to admit it, but when I start, I wouldn't stop.
Lefevre says it wasn't until a close friend died that he reached out for help. Skating is just one aspect of Westside's recovery program. There's therapy, group sessions, and other specially curated programs, including surfing, mixed martial arts, and music making. Lefevre has been with the program for 2 months and says he's back to skating multiple times a week.
The other day I told Brandon it feels good to fall again, and he was like, what? I was like, it feels good to fall again and get back up instead of falling and be like, oh man. But like fall and get back up and try it again.
Turner hosts a skateboarding program twice a week at skate parks across the county. He says a sense of community is a key part of recovery.
The opposite of addiction is connection, and it's all about community, because the bigger your circle is with resources, with like-minded people, the more support you have.
Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Well, winter is behind us, and that means that bats in San Diego have emerged from hibernation. KPBS SciTech reporter Thomas Fudge gives us this view of local bats as fans of the flying mammals line up for seasonal bat walks.
Natalie Borchert stands on the edge of the San Diego River in Mission Valley as she describes the bat walks the San Diego River Park Foundation hosts every spring and summer. Warm weather and the insects that come with it have brought bats out of their hibernation. One cool thing about bats, they navigate and hunt using echolocation, where their high-pitched squeak bounces off of bugs in their path.
It's like when you stand in a canyon and you say, echo, and you hear it back. That's exactly what the bat is doing. They're sending out a frequency, and then based on what they get back, they can tell how far away that bug is.
Bats live all over San Diego. They're fond of roosting under freeway bridges. San Diego bat walks are very popular. In fact, Borchert said they've had to cap attendance. She chose this part of the river for a walk due to accessibility, a good supply of river bugs, and condo buildings with red tile roofs on either side. Bats squeeze between the tiles for cover. It's part of their urban habitat. Borchert says her group wants to help people engage with bats.
So one of the projects that we offer is for scouts to design and build their own bat boxes.
One of those scouts is 17-year-old Ty Castle Ingen. He built 6 bat boxes to earn his Eagle Scout rank, and 3 of them are now installed near the San Diego River's edge in Julian. He said the bat box gives the animal a safe place to live in that area. A bat box looks like a very large birdhouse with entry slats below. Asked why he became interested in bats, Castle explains it's because they're bats.
They're mammals that can fly, you know, and I think oftentimes we get caught up a lot in that kind of fantasy of flying, and it seems oftentimes like very mystical, you know, being able to have that kind of superpower.
Then there's that creepy gothic allure of the bat.
Beyond Batman, there's also a lot of like witchcraft elements that are involved with bats, you know, and you have characters like Dracula and these vampires that also can turn into bats or shapeshift, you know, and I think those are really cool, popular elements that have kind of adapted from bats.
Before she created bat programs, Natalie Borchert said she used to be terrified of bats.
I still get a little nervous when they dive bomb my head. I have heard that possibly it's because I have the light colored hair and the insects reflect well off of the hair, and so the bats come very close to you.
Don Endicott points out the bat is not aiming for your head.
There are all sorts of myths about bats. They attack you. Well, they don't. They'll get in your hair. Nope. They'll drink your blood. There are 3 species of vampire bats, none north of central Mexico, so none here.
Endicott is a retired engineer, a self-taught bat expert, and a guide at many local bat walks. He said San Diego has a terrific biodiversity among its bats. There are 45 bat species in North America, and 22 of them can be found in San Diego County. The greatest threat to bats, he says, is a deadly disease called white nose syndrome that's spreading east to west in North America. That and the heavy use of pesticides that kill a bat's insect prey. The only true danger bats present to us is rabies. Like skunks and raccoons, they can be vectors for the disease.
County health requirement is if there's human contact with a bat, the bat has to be tested for rabies. And that's an invasive procedure. The bat has to be euthanized, and it requires sampling brain tissues.
So, never touch a bat. Even if it's not rabid, it must be captured and killed after that. Bats are nature's insecticide, helping to make San Diego fairly bug-free. Bat populations can eat literally tons of bugs every night. Endicott says they are pollinators of native plants such as the agave. And though they are fast and elusive, Endicott recalls one instance when he camped in Joshua Tree National Park and was riding his bike near twilight.
And on the way back, it's after dark, and I have my headlamp on. It's a weekday, so no one on the road. And I look to my left, and there's a bat flying, basically my wingman, right off my shoulder, following me down the road, because undoubtedly I'm bringing up insects to the light.
One more thing about bats, they are not flying rodents. They are members of the Chiroptera family, and they bear a closer relation to primates than they do to mice. Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
Now, the onshore flow will continue to be a major influencer of our weather over the course of the next couple of days with regards to the marine layer deepening, causing more persistent cloudiness, not only at the coast, but even some of the interior valleys. Also, the winds will be on the increase throughout the mountains and the deserts. And we'll talk about some temperature fluctuations and changes, too, as we work our way down the road. But let's talk about the short term first. Here's a look at tonight. Turning out cloudy. Again, low temperatures dropping down into the lower 60s. So we're going to be looking at the clouds around Oceanside down to 64. Ramona down to 58. Borrego Springs 68. Mount Laguna 55. And Chula Vista down to 61. Here's a look at Futurecast, and notice how the clouds have a persistent look to them here as we work our way throughout the overnight, through the morning, and gradually beginning to fade over the interior valleys, but lingering a little longer here at the coast. High temperature, 66. Again, to San Diego, Chula Vista 68, Borrego Springs back up into the 90s, Mount Laguna 62, Ramona on the comfortable side at 73. As we work our way down the road, notice toward the coast, we are going to see those temperatures coming back down a little bit Thursday into Friday. And the onshore flows on the increase here, so we'll see lots of low clouds throughout the morning, gradually breaking. Overnight low temperatures dropping down into the 50s. How about the interior valleys? Well, we're going to be looking at some low clouds here too, then some sunshine over the course of the next couple of days. Got high temperature right around 70, overnight lows into the 50s, a little bit below the historical averages here in some cases. Over the mountains, like I said, there will be some gusty breezes kicking up a little bit later on this week, and it will stay cool. Look at that. High temperatures will actually slip down into the 50s. Overnight lows dropping down into the 40s. And over the deserts, looks like the warmest of the air over the next couple of days, Tuesday into Wednesday. Along with that, some gusty breezes will usher in some slightly lower temperatures as we go into a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Justin Popick.
And here's another look at today's top stories. The San Diego City Council today appointed a group of community volunteers to review and investigate allegations of police misconduct. The council chose 25 people to serve on the Commission on Police Practices. It will have the power to independently investigate allegations of police misconduct and subpoena witnesses. The new commissioners will need to complete extensive training before they begin reviewing cases. And MTS service disruptions continue today amid negotiations between contractors and bus operators. According to MTS, East County bus service is operating at about 90% and South Bay service is at about 20%. A representative for TransDev says they've made good faith concessions and remain open to continue talks with operators. And the San Diego City Council is amending its program that allows outdoor dining on street parking spaces. The California Coastal Commission wants to make it more expensive and difficult for restaurants near the coast to establish outdoor dining spaces. It is asking the city to require coastal development permits for outdoor dining and replace any lost parking spaces.
I'm Amna Navaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, several western states agree to cut their water use from the drought-stricken Colorado River. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
And here is a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. Insurance companies rely on climate models to understand the risk that's posed by sea level rise, wildfires, and floods. On NPR's Morning Edition, the new research center to provide that data. And KPBS Midday Edition is focusing on the Title IX lawsuit and women's sports. Wave FC President Jill Ellis will be among tomorrow's guests. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.